Maggie Marissa Show. I'm Maggie.
And I'm Marissa, and tonight we're interviewing the infamous Trent Bertrand, a former economics professor of Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland.
Before we bring Trent on the hot seat, we'll recap exactly what happened.
Trent was terminated from his position last winter after allegations of creating, quote, a hostile learning environment by saying several insensitive and inappropriate jokes throughout the semester.
As news developed that he had been reported for this misconduct, more and more students came forward and expressed views both for and against him.
The university came to the conclusion to remove Bertrand.
Today, in a world where controversy over political correctness dominates the news, we want to revisit the issue.
Today, we have him with us to discuss exactly what happened with Johns Hopkins a year ago.
Trent, come on out.
Hi, Trent. Welcome to the show. It's good to have you.
Thanks. It's good to be here. Thank you for bringing me on the show.
Trent, how does it feel to return to the same classroom where you taught just 1 year ago?
It would feel better if I weren't here with you two. I'm only kidding. It's always nice having two lovely ladies by my side.
Shall we readdress that question? How does it feel to be in the very classroom where you once taught?
Honestly, it's upsetting and aggravating, as I feel I should be still teaching at this university.
Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. So for the past 6 years, I've taught an undergraduate course on international economics at Johns Hopkins. Most of my students thought it was a very good course, so I was shocked when on December 6th of last year, I was met at the door of my classroom by Johns Hopkins security personnel and barred from entering.
Wait, there were actual security guards that were standing in front of the classroom and they weren't letting you in?
Yes, it is ridiculous. The security guards wouldn't let me enter my class. And the next day, I received a letter from my dean suspending me from my teaching duties, just 3 classes before the end of the semester. What had I done to cause such a reaction by the administration?
So what exactly did you do? What were the allegations against you?
If I was to guess the issues that might have been discussed that might have led to the complaint, I suppose they would include a discussion of the proposal for equal pay for women and a joke I told when discussing offshoring.
Okay, wait a second. I'm going to stop you right there. Let's break this down a little bit. The first joke about equal pay. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. So I illustrated this by calculating the average grades by gender on the first midterm and asking the class to decide if the grades of gender with the higher grade should be reduced and the grades of the gender with the lower average should be reduced to establish equality, or I suppose equity, without telling the class that there is a significantly higher average grade for the females in the class. I suppose this could be interpreted as creating a hostile environment for males once I told them about the higher average, but I suspect they got over it without needing to have the administration provide counseling to them.
All right, let's move on. Some students have voiced that you're an outright racist that personally targets students in the class. How do you feel about this? Is it okay to single out students for their individualities?
Well, you asked the question as if it's only me personally targeting students, but in reality, I know other professors at Hopkins who do just the same.
Oh, really? At an institution that is very much in tune with what's politically correct and what's not?
Absolutely. One of my good buddies, Sam House, is still teaching there, and I've heard he takes class time to single out the archaeology major.
An archaeology major? What's wrong with that? Seems like a fascinating profession.
Well, I suppose nothing, but Sandhouse seems to think otherwise. The point being, it's not just me. I was just the one who got caught.
All right, let's move on. The second topic that you talked about, the one about offshoring. How did you address that in the classroom? And can you retell the joke for us?
Sure. So an American loses his job due to his work being offshore. He's very depressed and calls a mental health hotline. He gets a call center in Pakistan where the call center employee asks, "What seems to be the problem?" The American responds that he has lost his job due to the work being sent overseas and states, "I am really depressed and actually suicidal." The call center employee says, "Great, can you drive a truck?"
Okay, and this is a joke that you've told before, or was this the first time?
No, I've told it year after year in my time at Hopkins.
And you didn't find this joke to be inappropriate in any way?
Honestly, no. Frankly, I thought it was hilarious, and it seemed like others thought it was too.
Really? No.
I mean, if you need further proof, ask Professor Ali Khan, who heard the same joke at lunch a few weeks before my termination, and he was still laughing as we parted after lunch.
But telling a joke to a professor who's your friend is quite different from telling that same joke to a group of diverse students, don't you think?
Honestly, it didn't even cross my mind. There's 5 minutes left in class. I had a funny joke that related to the subject, so why not?
Yeah, I guess why not put your job on the line?
I guess hindsight is always 20/20.
All right, moving on. In your experience in the class, do you think your behavior created a hostile environment, in your opinion?
No, I'm not really a great fan of political correctness, safe spaces, and an unwillingness for students to engage in discussion about issues on which people disagree.
Well, we had a student you told the offshoring joke about here from Hopkins, and she certainly thinks otherwise. Let's bring her out.
This is Holly Snow, a student from Hopkins. Holly, welcome to the show. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
As you said, I'm Holly Snow, and I'm currently a senior at Hopkins. I was a student in Bertram's class last year, and I've seen what he's like in person when teaching.
Well, in your opinion, what is Bertram like?
From the very first day, I was shocked to see such a character in an upstanding university like Hopkins. He was very rude, and it felt like he didn't really process his words before saying them. Even though I appreciate an environment where ideas are challenged and debated, I felt uncomfortable in the way he addressed us.
Hang on a second. Even a student who does not exactly side with me admits that she appreciates the learning environment that I created. An environment that is healthy of classroom debate and discussion, which I pride myself on.
Wait, hold on a minute there. Holly is the student that you targeted while telling the offshoring joke. Holly, can you share with us what that experience was like?
Yeah, before class, he asked me if I could do a Pakistani accent for this joke he planned to tell. I'm not Pakistani, I'm Indian, just to clarify. The accent isn't something that I wanted to do, even if I could, and so I told him that. Even with that, he proceeded to tell the joke and tried to insist in class that I participate. When I refused again, he followed through with the joke and imitated the accent in an incredibly racist manner.
How did you feel when he targeted you in front of class?
It was honestly a really awful experience. My ethnicity should not affect my involvement in the classroom, and he took it way too far when he tried to insist I do something I was uncomfortable with, and then did it anyway.
Well, Trent, it seems that even with some appreciation for the learning environment that you created, others feel targeted and offended. Before the show, we actually reached out to a few former students of yours who had some stories of their own to tell. Let's take a look.
I remember one instance we were talking about the Japanese. I don't even remember what the reason why, but we were talking about the Japanese people. And he was like, yeah, the Japanese people believe the emperor is God. He looks at a random Asian student, like literally a random Asian student who ended up being a TA in the class. And he like points at him and is like, yeah, like, you know, like,
He's
you
like,
believe,
you, like, literally, like,
believe
hey,
the
you.
emperor, you believe the emperor, like, was a god. And the guy was like, no, I'm American. He was like, yeah, but, like, your parents probably believed the emperor was a god. And he's like, no, like, literally, we're American.
And he's literally
and then
like,
he's like,
parents-
no, but, like, for sure your, like, grandparents, like, believed the emperor was a god. And then just, like, kept talking throughout the class. Like, and that, like,
No,
just
but then
happened.
the TA, like, wasn't even Japanese, like, of Japanese
Yeah,
descent.
definitely, like
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah, he definitely didn't do it to just me.
Not like he had an issue with that. Like they said, he became my TA later. If what I had said really affected him, he wouldn't have even bothered applying to TA in my class.
What made you single out this student in particular?
Well, he was sitting in the front row and he looked pretty Japanese to me.
Well, those students have some more opinions on that. Let's see what they have to say.
Like, I'm not exaggerating. Like, we would just, like, any topic, like, somehow would, like, correlate back to, like, China or something. Or he was, like, obsessed with Japan. And he'd always just, like, point at, like, random Asian students in the class and, like almost ask for their input. And it just was, like, so awkward and so uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure his wife is also from Thailand, and so he'd actually, like, bring this up as, like, oh, my wife is from Thailand, like, I have this perspective that's maybe, like, that would, like, present the Asian perspective, and we would just all be like, everything you've said contradicts this perspective you have. So it was very odd.
Hey look, they're laughing. They think it was funny.
No, they think it's offensive. Your words aren't excusable, and you deserve to lose your job at Hopkins. I'm glad future students won't have to experience the way you taught.
All right, Holly, thank you for coming on and voicing your opinions. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for allowing me.
Good to see you, Hall. You look great.
Thanks.
We're going to take a short commercial break, but stay tuned for our next guest, who is also a Hopkins student. But this student very much agrees with Bertrand's teaching methods, and will bring out Jacob Scott after we come back.
East Hills for back to school. Denim haircut. Backpacks, come get your backpack.
Boots and pants.
New shoes.
Get yourself an outfit.
Denim
Boots and pants.
Haircut.
new shoes. So get yourself back to school with East Hills.
Good.
Welcome back. This is Jacob Scott. Jacob, welcome to the show.
Nice to see you.
Trent, it's great to see you too. I've really missed having you as a professor.
Jacob, thanks for joining us. So, you're very fond of Bertrand, is that right?
Yeah, I love Trent. He's probably one of the most influential professors I've had in my life.
So it seems like he had a positive impact on your academic experience. How is he different from your other professors?
It was so refreshing being taught by someone who's not a lifelong academic, but who's actually spent his life in the real world and applying things that we learn in class to real life situations that affect people. Like you mentioned in the last day of class, there aren't too many conservatives wandering the halls of Johns Hopkins, and I think it's really important that students be exposed to the ideas that are different than their own, rather than simply having their ideas validated by each and every one of their professors.
Thank you for that.
Do you feel that it's appropriate to express ideas or viewpoints that could potentially offend some students?
Well, that's a tough question. I'm not really sure how I'd answer that.
Well, we actually have a video of a student who answers this question.
Academia is a field that is defined by civil debate and discussion. Within a debate, two parties attempt to argue opposing views. While often the views held by one party are not offensive to the opposing party, in some cases, the conflict becomes personal. However, this is not the intent of engaging in a debate. When entering into a debate, the goal of both parties is to find common ground with which to agree upon, and then move forward from there. There is no intention of offending the opposing party. When one party allows themselves to be influenced by their emotions within a debate by becoming offended by the other party's view, the offended party has effectively shut down the debate and turns it into a form of self-righteous battle. Thus, within the context of academia, it is imperative that people leave their emotions aside when engaging in debate.
Well, before the end of the show, as a final question, Trent, how would you answer this question? Do you feel it's appropriate to express ideas or views that could offend some students?
Absolutely. I think that students deserve a professor who speaks their mind. The university claims that it is deeply committed to the principles of academic freedom, and I conclude that Johns Hopkins would rather have a sacrificial lamb to appease student protesters than to provide a faculty member with any semblance of due process. Our universities have gone badly astray when professors can be yanked out of their classes and denied rudimentary academic due process simply because a student couldn't take a joke, or administration cannot tolerate criticism of actions that threaten to undermine the idea of a university.
Thank you again, Trent and Jacob, for coming to the show tonight.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Anytime.
So, let's open up this discussion to the lovely audience here tonight. What do you guys think? Do you believe that Bertrand was wrongfully terminated from Hopkins, or do the principles of academic freedom protect him?